Today marks 19 years ago that one of my best friends passed away from cancer, and it feels like yesterday. It's amazing how time, like, in one sense, feels like it was yesterday, and then another, can't believe it's almost been 20 years. Um, I would say that was probably one of my first real experiences with somebody passing that I was close to. Um, and It's really interesting how I met this friend. I was working at the time at a used bookstore, and she was a customer. And we discovered we both shared the same faith, and she was really sweet, bubbly, outgoing, and so we became friends. And I stuck being her friend through her cancer journey, and that was quite brutal. I think it's interesting to see how, when somebody is sick, how other people react. I know hospitals are not for everybody. It can give anxiety. It can be nerve-wracking. Plus, people don't want to see their friend, family member, their loved one, sick, not feeling well. They may, physically have, changed due to like surgery or whatever the, situation might be. And that can be hard to confront and deal with. I remember, visiting this friend, and, it's sort of like, how do you act? Like, what do you do? I mean, obviously you care about the person, you want to be there for them, but it's like, do you just sit there quietly? Do you, chat, even though they may not be necessarily able to respond back, depending on, how sick they are, if they're able to talk, not able to talk, if they're asleep, etc. So that was interesting. Just witnessing when I would go visit, if anyone else was visiting her. I mean, aside from like her mom and like her dad, and her kids, it was just a very profound, altering experience. And I remember I did see her the last day she was alive. I went to visit before I had to go to work, and I said goodbye. And at that point, she was at the point to where she, it was toward the end, so to speak. So she wasn't. I don't think she was eating or drinking at that point. But I remember, and I don't think she was really talking. But I remember I leaned down and whispered to her, "I love you," and she made she didn't say a word per se, but she did make some kind of noise. So I know she heard it, and I would interpret that as she understood. She couldn't communicate necessarily with words, but she understood what I was saying. What I was saying to her. So yeah, that was tough, and thankfully I'm thankful I have reconnected with her mom, which is awesome. That's really helpful. It's just, I don't know, it shows you how life goes so stinking fast. And this best friend, was very young when they passed. In the grand scheme of things, she was very young. So we don't know, how long do we have? We could have, 50 more years. We could have a week. We could have a day. We could have an hour. We don't know. And, yeah. And that her funeral was, I'm trying to remember. I remember I felt sort of awkward, nervous to go up to the casket to see her. And prior to this, I've only seen one other dead body, if you will. So that was a little different. I don't know. You can tell obviously the person's not there any longer. I mean, it's just the shell, if you will. It was a very, I don't know. I don't remember the funeral very well, but it's just the whole thing. Just that whole, like, having somebody come into your life, becoming friends, and then reconnecting uh, uh, after a few years of being not in contact, and then, sticking it out with that friend through their hospital visits, through their surgeries, to the end. And just, I don't know, it's hitting me today because it's been 19 years. That to me feels like a long time. And I'm not even that old, but it feels like a long time. And I don't know if any of you have any recent things you've dealt with in regards to grief, passing of a loved one. And I know some people feel like grief, like, oh, it's been X amount of time, you should be over it, move on, blah, blah, blah. And grief, I mean, yes, it ebbs and flows, but it can slap you out of nowhere. And I mean, I do have moments. The song they played at her funeral, the intro song they had playing, is a classic, well-known worship song. So anytime I hear it, I will just bawl my eyes out because it's a little bit of a trigger. But yes, grieving and grief ebbs and flows. But no, it definitely affects everybody differently. And if you have had anyone recently pass, I'm sorry for your loss. But yeah, I just felt like today chatting a little bit about my best friend that I do miss, think about often, and thankful for the time I got to be in her life and hers and mine. And I love her very much. Everyone have a great day. Bye.